Welcome to Bring It Home's monthly series on redefining success. This year, Bring It Home is celebrating the questions we began to ask in October at the Bring It Parents Summit. We began our journey asking the question, what are the qualities that most support us first, always start with us first, and our children as they evolve into the next generation of conscious leaders. So I'm here today with the awesome Eric Langshur, who I love to refer to as a serial entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of Abundant Ventures Partners. He's the founder of Rise Health, founder of Care Pages, and most recently, co-author of the new best-selling, I'm going to grab mine, book, Start Here, which has landed itself on the New York Times bestseller list in record time, as far as I'm concerned. And as importantly, Eric is husband first and father to 3 amazing kids. So it sounds like you've got all those boxes checked, Eric. Welcome and thanks for being here. How's it going?
I'm happy to be here, Annmarie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm really grateful to have you here in this conversation with me. I just love this topic of your book, Mastering the Lifelong Habit. That's a key word in my opinion, this habit of well-being. You know, that's what we're all about here at Bring It Home. And that's, you know, we're devoted to cultivating well-being by focusing on the qualities that lead one to defining this authentic sense of well-being, right? Because well-being is different for everyone. So the one quality I'm excited to explore with you today, Eric, is this idea of openness.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Why is openness an important leadership skill? And more importantly, above all, how can we cultivate it? How do we cultivate it in ourselves so that we can model that for the children that we're influencing in the world? So I'm excited to talk to you about that. And I know that you're a leader who leads from open awareness, and you work with leaders all over the world bringing more conscious open awareness into their lives as leaders. And we talk to parents and we talk to educators and we talk to students about this idea. About, you know, cultivating authentic success to become conscious leaders in their lives, right? So we're laying the foundation early on. So I really want to hear, to start off, tell us why you think it's valuable to cultivate openness in our lives and in the lives of the children we influence.
Well, there's so many reasons, of course. I think maybe the place that I would drop into the conversation is where you started, around the idea of well-being, and openness is a key component of well-being. And what we discovered, you know, in our personal journey, and the we is my co-author Nate Klemp and I, is that this notion of well-being is a skill that can be trained. And, you know, of course, what we're learning about the brain through neuroscience and positive psychology is that the brain is neuroplastic. The brain is malleable. It's not fixed. It's not rigid. It's not like steel. And it's more like Play-Doh, and that we can use our minds, we can use, you know, a certain set of practices to change our brain that really influence our experience of being alive. And the key is to train the skill of attention, and that this skill can be really developed in really an integrated way in the, you know, the living of our lives. So we don't have to take, you know, 2 hours out every day, you know, to go to the gym of the mind, because we're with, you know, our mind is with us all the time. So every moment of every day is an opportunity to practice these really essential skills like being open. So to your question, why is openness important? Well, you know, it's really represents a way of being, a way of being present, a way of being curious, a way of being non-judgmental, a way of supporting, you know, the people in our lives and what the events in our lives. That's just a really, not just a comfortable way to be in one's own skin, but also I think pretty comfortable for others to be around.
Yeah, you know, as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about the range of our lives, right? And we start out as young children, and we're like these open vessels, just taking everything in. And this idea of curiosity and non-judgment that you just named is this fundamental skill that allows children to learn, right?
Right.
And somewhere along the line, we get judgmental and we get less curious and we start to believe that we have all the answers.
Right.
And I know that's happened for me. And this practice that you're talking about, how has it helped you become more open?
Oh, well, in so many ways. This notion of becoming judgmental along the line is really linked to our biology. So what's at work here is biology, and we talk a lot about this in the book. So we're all born with what we call the set point. So the set point are those biological forces that really serve us as a species, help keep us alive and keep us thriving, and they are judgment, right? So this idea of categorizing the world, good, bad, like, dislike, fundamentally approach, reject. So you can imagine how, when we were 40,000 years ago wandering the plains of the savannah, needing to know what is safe and what isn't safe, this notion of judging is really, really important, of categorizing. And that leads to, attaching to, good, attach, bad, resist, run away. And that's what's going on with all of us. But what's changed today is, we're still running. I mean, it's been such a short period of time. Our biology hasn't caught up. So we're running what is today in our modern world, really modern and complex software, but on a prehistoric hard drive, which is our brains. Our brains just haven't caught up. So the 24/7 digital world in which we're living, in which our kids are growing up, always ons, always screens, always communication. It's not even email, it's the Instagram, it's the Facebook, it's the Snapchat, constant barrage. Each input just fires our brain chemistry, sends out stress signals through the amygdala, right? And we react accordingly. And all of that reaction, turns us into, increasingly judging machines, and in some respects, kind of closes us off. And I think that's our work, is to, counter-program that.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree. And I would love to hear about your experiences as a leader and why you believe that being open has been such a valuable skill for you as a leader, because you've done it so successfully so many times. And this is the work you're up to, right? Let's start here, bringing this kind of work into corporate leadership.
Right. Well, it does completely center in this idea of openness. So, non-judgmental awareness, being present with what is. And we think about how that shows up in the workplace. It's incredible. So something's gone wrong. We can go in with an attitude like, who's to blame? Why did, shoot the messenger, find the culprit as a means to fix it. Or we can approach it with an open attitude of, okay, something went wrong. What can we learn about the situation so it doesn't happen again? Just this commitment to curiosity, a commitment to not being right, a commitment to, entering into a situation where we can really, really listen, which, in an open way. And just imagine to your question, how that energy just creates a different culture in the workplace. So fear goes away. People in turn become, equally more curious about what can we learn. People aren't hiding the truth. People are coming forward with bad news. And as Jack Welch said, right, in the business environment, the team that sees the most clearly wins. So we need to foster and create that culture of candor, of openness, of honesty.
And aside from impacting the bottom line of a corporate culture, what are the other benefits you think that there are to doing this kind of work in the corporate world? Outside of the corporate wars.
Sorry, so what are the benefits to corporations, or what are the benefits in general?
Well, in general, like beyond the corporate doors, right? So it's going to impact the bottom line for sure, because we're going to be, more agile. We're going to be more creative. We're going to be more spontaneous, and we're going to be working better together as teams.
Yeah.
So once we cultivate that right within our corporate doors, our corporate structure, how does that impact the world outside that?
Yeah. Well, this is such a neat question, Annmarie. We talk a lot about, we talk about it in the book, the need for the balancing of being and doing. So we live in a world where we're all decisively engaged in the world. We're all doing so much. And so much so that we're almost human doers. You've probably heard the expression, more than human beings. And it's this idea of bringing balance. So it's the same set of skills. And what's really cool, these are the skills that we teach at work. And to your point, we all bring them home. We all bring them into our lives, and the way that we live, today, our work and our lives it's hard to distinguish between the two. We're working all the time. We've got our devices in our pocket, and when we're not working, work is on our minds. So we all know what that feels like. So the idea of just being more centered, being more focused, being more present, being more peaceful and calm and open, doing it at work, and just taking that same energy into our lives, around our dining room table, right, into the kitchen when we're cooking, and we're, in every interaction we have with anybody in the world. It's just these are just life skills that foster goodness in every way.
Yes, and bringing them out into our communities, and bringing this sense of, I regularly don't, as a practice, watch the news, because it's not something I want children to have in the back of their mind as they start their day. It's not that I don't want them to be informed. It's just there's such a negativity bias in the news that I resist that at the start of our day. In any case, today I had this urge to watch the news, and there were the first top two stories were these two shootings that occurred here in Chicago.
Right.
And of course, I could hear my parents in the background, from when I was a child, like, what's wrong with those people, And there's something wrong over there. And I really just got really open and curious. And I thought, wow, what's wrong with us? Like, as a culture, as a world, what's wrong? So this idea of curiosity, how we could bring it into our communities and start becoming open and curious about how our behaviors are impacting one another. So it starts at home, it goes into school, it goes into the work world, it goes out into our communities.
Right.
And so we weave ourselves together in that way. And it's so beautiful that you're prioritizing this kind of work in our corporate world that has such impact on the world at large. So,
and to your point, it all starts right here, right? It all starts with the work that we do on ourselves, and when we can bring, that centeredness, and what comes with it is, when one just loses interest in drama, one loses interest in gossip, one loses interest in, that kind of negative energy, and it's just amazing. So what we've got going on here in our workplace. When people coming to work, being really clear on what their genius is and how they can contribute. And that is so core to just well-being, right? Back to where you started, right? Just core to living a rich life and feeling well.
Yeah, so now you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Well, tell our listeners how old your kids are.
So I have 2 boys who are 18 and 16, and a 14-year-old daughter.
So how do you think this work has impacted them, and how do you think our students can benefit from more well-being in the educational culture, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a big question. It's a really big question. There were 2 questions in there. So how can the students benefit, and how do we bring this work to them? Maybe I'll share a personal story. I tell this. I'll share a couple of personal stories. I tell one of these in the book, where I had a very stressful relationship with my 16-year-old he was probably 11 at the time, so it was about 5 years ago. And we just were butting heads, and I found him to be, excessively negative and, edgy and argumentative and, all those great things that, kids are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was reacting so strongly to it, and, just getting in his face and just feeling, I was miserable, saying, how come, why is this kid, not being gracious and kind-hearted and nice to his brother and sister. And it was really making me unhappy. And so I realized, I've got to do the work, and really looked at it and realized, this whole energetic is just absolutely being fed by me. So I would ask Alex, how's your day, sweetie? And he would say, school sucks. And then I would just react, right? And then my reaction, of course, fueled everything. And so literally the day that I stopped reacting, he stopped. I mean, he just changed. He just stopped being negative. He, started, I get emotional. He started touching me again and hugging me again and being, he's just the most sweet, loving human being I know. I mean, he's incredible. And he just started, letting that love flow. And it was just so special. So it always just starts with us and how we show up in the world. And that's, I think, the big gift we can give our kids.
Well, what I hear you saying is you became open. What is it I'm doing to co-create this kid over here that's showing up, in this way?
Yeah.
And then you empowered yourself to create a shift when it's so all about us all the time. And
this is what we do, right? Yeah.
And then he met you where you were. How beautiful. That is, I really believe that is the most challenging act of a parent, is remaining open. My kids come home from school every day and say it sucks. And
yeah, right.
And when I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I bet it does.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, there was this floodgate of, openness from them, sharing and intimacy. And I wasn't resisting what was, which
right.
was, it sucks for them.
Imagine having to go to school, sit all day being talked at with all this energy. And, chances are there's some not great teachers out there who are kind of boring. And you have no choice. And then you've got work to do at home as a kid. Yeah. Right.
And so what I'm most interested in is what it is, how we're creating this next generation of leaders, right? So we want open, creative, successful people leading us into the next generation. Yet, how is it we're setting them up in the current circumstances on that path?
Right.
So this idea of how can we cultivate all these kinds of skills in the current circumstances of their educational system, how can we help support that?
And, that's the point of the book, right? The book, what we've done is we've synthesized the body of philosophical ancient wisdom. We've brought it into a framework. We went to the scientific community to validate the big ideas of, since the greatest thinkers, since, really the beginning of recorded thought. And we translated that into really efficient and effective practices. We built a measurement tool around it so people can actually track their progress. And, much like standing on a scale, we can track our emotional progress and measurement. And it's just really remarkable. And it really does come back to well-being is a skill that can be trained. The key is to train the skill of attention, and that we can do it in the living and, the integrating our lives. So the book, we talk about all the tips. So, whether we're in the shower or standing in line in Starbucks or sitting down to a meal with our family and letting gratitude roll, there's so many beautiful, simple things that we can do that change our biology, that, change our experience of being alive and change how the world just responds to us. It's really cool stuff.
Like that, in that simple example with Alex, how you were able to change that experience. And my guess is it's changed a lifetime of relationship for the two of you.
Oh yeah, I just got, shivers thinking about it. And then the other story I was going to tell my eldest son Matthew was quite ADD. Matthew several years ago had concluded somewhere along the line, and it wasn't me pushing on him. He said, "Dad, can you teach me what meditation is?" So I said, "Well, why don't I share it with you and your friends?" So it became kind of a communal thing for him, and he had a couple of his buddies come over. There was about 5 of us, and we would start to do these really short meditations. And so it was all I could do to keep it really short and not talk, because I was so excited, but just to make it really friendly. And then, of course, his friends said, "Wow, that's pretty cool. Your dad's pretty cool." So it fed and nurtured Matthew's interest. And so now here's a kid who's 18, still wrestles with his ADD, but knows and uses the skill of meditation and knows how and when to unpack it. And the more stressful things get, the more time Matthew spends on the cushion. He knows himself so well, and has become this incredible sort of emotional regulation tool in his life. It's so cool to see, and it's so powerful.
Yes, this idea of 2 things that you said I think are key there. First of all, how beautiful that A, he came to you, and B, brought his friends.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it would have happened without the friends.
That's the best part.
It was the insight. Yeah.
This level of trust and interest in you, and so I mean that in and of itself is huge with teenagers. But this idea where you said, he really knows himself, and the self-regulation, and those 2 pieces I think we're always pointing at as a key leadership skill, like knowing yourself, knowing who you are, showing up in your truth and expressing yourself authentically. And then the self-regulation, I see it all the time in clients that I've coached over the years, particularly men having difficulty in their corporate lives, managing their emotions, expressing themselves well in that domain, and either being so big and putting people off, or being so little. And so being able to cultivate that skill through college and through those early years, and practice that before you jump into a corporate world structure, what a beautiful gift.
And exactly right. And to be coming into the world in a society where it's cool to be that guy. So Matthew's created this little cottage industry. He's now making and selling meditation benches for all of his buddies, and as gifts for people. It's really, really neat. And he just thinks it's cool. So this used to be a sort of a secret activity for a lot of us, and now people are just out of the closet. I mean, your work is an example of just how important and how really mainstreamly cool it's become.
Your story about Matthew, really quick, I'll share. I was in a classroom at the University of Chicago about 2 years ago, teaching some 5th grade kids, and the group, there were about 18 kids, and about 5 of the kids in the class were ADD boys. Really hard to get them to settle down. Yeah. And I was moving through this lesson with some nervousness, because I was going to guide them through a 10-minute guided silent meditation. And in the back, I think, how am I going to get these boys to sit still? And what am I going to, and all this stress and anxiety. And so my meditation ended up guided. I was talking in the meditation more. And at the end of the practice, those 5 boys raised their hand. And, we always talk about how was that for you at the end. And they're like, "We wish you would have stopped talking so much. It was so quiet in there without your voice." And it was so beautiful. And and it was great. And it reminded me of how much our kids are craving some peace and quiet.
Right.
And this permission, like Matthew is creating for his contemporaries, this permission to, shut down. How?
Right.
So before we sign off, because I could talk to you forever and ever, I want you to share one tip you have for parents and leaders to practice cultivating openness. What's one tip, that you might take from your book? How can you start your health?
Oh, well, I think my go-to's got to be the Socratic practice of inquiry. And it's a challenge, but it's a go-to, and it's if one is open to it, the power of the Socratic practice of questioning our thoughts and asking, is it true, just opens us up. It cracks us wide open. Because and the beautiful thing here is we can notice, shift, rewire. This is the three-part master practice that we teach in the books. Stressful thoughts are cues to notice. They're a gift because they can bring our attention back to the moment. I'm stressed, there's a cue, I can feel it in my body. I can shift by just simply asking the question, is it true? And we can see that we're telling stories, it feels true, but we're attaching to that thought, we're anchoring, and we're making it personal, pervasive, permanent. We're doing all of that stuff in our brains, and we're recycling the same issue. So this work takes practice and effort. But with a little practice, simply popping the question just brings us right back to, yeah, I can see how there's truth to this story, and I can see how the story may not be completely as fixed and firm as I'm making it. And then we just crack open and we relax and we shift to the moment, and so much goodness comes of it. So it's a little bit of an advanced skill, but it's also, I think, it's a beautifully effective practice.
Great tip and a great way to become more open just by the nature of the question. The willingness to ask the question, I think, is enough to explore this idea of
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, thank you, Eric, for your presence today, and thank
everyone. But we just started. We're 3 minutes in?
I know, right? I'm going to take you for another hour. But I'm so, so grateful. One of my practices from the book that I've been working on this week is this practice of gratitude. And today my gratitude practice is for your willingness to share yourself with me and with all of us listening in today.
Oh, thank you. I feel honored and privileged too. So thank you for including me.
I'm beyond excited about the work you're doing. And for everyone listening in, you're going to be able to find more tools in our newsletter. As you know, we're sending out the newsletter in bite-sized pieces from now on. So one piece a week. You're going to get our interview. This month it'll be with Eric, as you know. Next week you'll get a meditation. The following week you'll get your PDF, and the week after that you'll get a blog. So lots of great ways to practice this month, creating more openness in your life from the inside out. And I'd love to hear how everyone did practicing at home this month. So join us in conversation on Facebook and Twitter. Eric, I hope you join us as well. And for those of you who are interested in a free copy of Eric's book, Start Here, check out the link in the description box below. We're going to be raffling off a free book, so you have an opportunity to read more about what's going on to Start Here. And thanks again. I hope you enjoyed this month's Redefining Success. For last month's interview with Dr. Shefali on authenticity, hop over to bringithome.me. And Eric, where can everyone find out a little bit more about you?
Well, on Amazon.com, we've got a bio with Start Here, so go there for sure. And then my day job is with Abundant Venture Partners, and abundantventurepartners.com really unpacks everything that we're up to professionally.
Great. And does LifeXT have a website that people might want to check out?
It certainly does. So we have we've built an enterprise around teaching the skills that we've developed in Start Here. We've called it Life Cross Training. Life-xt.com is the URL, and it's just doing really beautiful and important work.
Awesome. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you all here right here next month. And in the meantime, enjoy the moments.